It was another one of those pivotal moments that you can either take this information and change your life, or you can sit and be stuck.
Meet Amy Daley, the co-founder of SARTORI and the COO of Nielsen Sports South Africa.
Becoming a parent, I've learned so many lessons through her eyes, and I sometimes have to take a step back and look and go, what am I teaching her by the actions that I'm taking?
How do you think about the future?
Technology is changing things rapidly with some of the hats and roles that I wear. Like, what can I be doing more with technology that can actually just be done quicker, better, faster, simpler? This was actually from ChatGPT. So I listened to a podcast about AI agents and where the world's going and how human beings can live in the world with AI. But there was one very important point in there, and it's about humans. To be able to live is you've got to be able to learn things, unlearn things, and learn things again. You know, what I've come to learn over the last, I'd say, couple of years is...
Quick one. I've noticed that more than 70% of you who watch the channel on a regular basis are not subscribed. So please, wherever you're watching or listening to this, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us with spreading this content to more people across this continent. Enjoy this episode.
How long has the African CEO been going for? Is it over a year and a
August
half?
2023.
Oh, okay.
So that was like when I, kind of like turn an office into a studio type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Invested in some equipment and just started to use my network because my background is in engineering.
I read, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I made a transition.
How long ago was that? When did you...
2020 to 2023.
Okay.
I consulted for 2 firms.
Okay.
And I started a business in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
A marketplace for travel and transportation.
Mm.
And then COVID hit, so that stopped.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Operations stopped. We tried to pivot into like essential services. Margins are way too low.
Yeah.
But I outsourced most of basically everything. So the only expenses I had was like my own salary and marketing costs.
Mm.
So that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And I could pick it up again 2021. Restrictions lifted. But the consulting provided the stability. And I enjoyed it for about a year.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I'm not meant to be stuck behind a laptop. I'm meant to be in front of people.
Talking.
Yeah. And making things happen.
Yeah.
And not designing a road.
Mm.
Even though that's important work, it's not for me.
Yeah.
And so 2022, left both jobs, continued running the business, sold it off to one of my supplier, like we just did a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Started another business in the energy sector.
Okay.
Started distributing these portable power stations because load shedding was at a
Yeah, I
all-time
was going
high.
to say incredibly needed in our country.
So I partnered with manufacturers. Business partner and I weren't aligned.
Okay.
Just a lot of challenges. More from a personal point of view.
Yeah.
He was 20 years older than me.
Okay.
And so I'm like, let's do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And he was very much conservative. He also had a business, so, wasn't putting time in. But it was just a misalignment of values at the core of it.
Yeah, and I think from a business partner side of things, you've got to be so careful with who you do business with. Who you choose to walk that journey with. If you're not aligned and you're not able to have honest conversations and there isn't, deep trust in so many spaces, it's challenging.
100%. Especially if there's a misalignment of core beliefs and values of the way you see the world.
Completely.
And he didn't particularly agree with the way I saw things, but I had empathy for the way he saw things. And just a lot of, at the core of it, it was a misalignment and lots of red flags, which I ignored.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, that business failed. So the money I made from the shuttle business went into this. Okay. And then I started the podcast and I coached student entrepreneurs with Launch Lab.
Okay.
So the contract with them, I'm not sure if you know what Launch Lab does.
No.
So they facilitate and provide incubation support for spin-off companies at Stellenbosch University.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I
Because you
worked with
studied
them.
at Stellenbosch University.
Correct.
Okay.
And then I saw this whole world of media and marketing. I'm like, oh, what is this?
Mm.
And that's been the journey I'm on.
Mm.
Tried different things, launched a membership last year.
Yeah.
People didn't want to pay. So trying to also find a solution that if there's just mass users, how can I monetize in another way?
Mm.
And yeah, that's still very much in market research phase.
Yeah.
So now it's podcast and, consulting, media and marketing, providing services.
And what inspired you to go into podcasting? What was the inspiration and the thought process behind it?
In 2023, my partner and I, we attended this virtual Tony Robbins conference.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with his work?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's very intense,
Mm.
and you can build the life that you want to.
Yes.
It's in your own hands. Take
Yes.
responsibility. You have to work on your mindset and limiting beliefs. And it was a combination of that, and an idea popped up. I was like, oh, this would be cool.
Mm.
And then coaching the students at Launch Lab.
Okay.
And they were asking like such basic questions about business. So that, I would say like those two things resulted in me like taking action. But in terms of like the bigger vision, I didn't know what I wanted it to be until probably last year
Okay.
or so.
And I think, journeys change and evolve, and reasons for doing things also change and evolve. And sometimes I think something just speaks to you as well that's sort of powerful enough to make you want to go in that direction. And you don't need to know the end goal right now, You don't know where you need to be in 20 years' time because you're not quite sure what path that will take. Technology is changing things rapidly at the moment as well. I was sitting and thinking about it the other day with some of the hats and roles that I wear. Like, what can I be doing more with technology that can actually just be done quicker, better, faster, simpler? And that actually then takes care of something right there as well.
100%. Finding things to automate.
Absolutely, yeah.
How do you think about the future from a planning point of view? So how long in advance do you plan for?
I think it's different lengths of time when it comes to different things. So what I mean by that is earlier this month was my husband and I's 6-month wedding anniversary. And we went out for lunch, and there was a pen that was positioned on the table because it was a wine farm restaurant and you could tick off wines that you wanted to taste. So I took a napkin and I used the pen and I looked at him and I said, right, what do we want to achieve? What's our biggest goal that we want to achieve? From a, home financial family point of view. And we've got a plan now for 8 years. So 8 years' time, this is what we want to achieve. And I also said to him, let's sit and visualize what that looks like and what that feels like, and what the kids are like in that space and in that environment. So it also starts feeling real. And then we sort of worked back from that 8 years to now, going, what are the things that we want to achieve individually as a family? So from a personal family perspective, the goal is obviously to be married to my husband for the rest of my life. But in terms of things financially, what we want to be able to achieve, we've always had a dream and a goal of wanting to, I'm not going to say always because these things evolve as well. We want to have an apartment that has a view of the ocean. It's a 3-bedroom apartment that has a view of the ocean. Property prices in the Western Cape are exorbitant. We've looked at it, we've done the math. The cost of what a property now is, what it would cost in 8 years' time, and how are we going to get there, basically. So we've broken it down in that sense. From a business side of things, I think, like with my business Sartori, there's been a lot of, like I was saying to you earlier, sort of pivots and changes within the business. So going from all athletes to moving to a focus pivot with female athletes and that sort of thing. My business partner and I, we talk a lot, but now is the time to implement and create actions. And we've spoken about where we want to be in 4 years' time, for example. And it's not about setting, yes, we speak about obviously how are we going to get there, but the platforms in terms of how we're going to get there can change. And I think you've got to be agile in that. And I'm talking also from a technology point of view. What can change? What can be added to? You know, and I mean, I said to my husband the other day, like, oh, I'm going to chat to Copilot and ask Copilot a few questions. And he looked at me and he said, you realize you've just mentioned Copilot as like a human being? I was like, yes, absolutely. You know, let's see what Copilot can come up with, and let's challenge Copilot.
Something that I also think about is the driving force.
Yeah.
Because you can have something that you're striving towards, and then a couple months later, that thing could change. And so for me, it's understanding what is that driving force in the season of my life. Because perhaps it's also seasons.
Absolutely.
In your 20s and even 30s, perhaps it's a building season.
Yeah.
And once I understand, or at least I think I know what drives me, it helps me to put the plan in place.
Absolutely.
Because the vision will always be there, it will always be creative, it will always be big.
Yeah.
But it may not seem, it may not come to fruition as what I intended to be in my mind.
Yeah.
And being okay with that thing changing as long as the driving force is being satisfied. Does that make sense?
Completely.
Do you think about your purpose and, you know, what drives you, or how do you think about purpose?
Yeah. So just to step back, I think what also is incredibly important is writing down what you want to achieve as well. The power of writing something down and visualizing it and manifesting it into your life is, there's something incredible about that. And, you know, we can all sort of say to ourselves, like, yes, my husband and I, we've been speaking for a couple of years about this apartment, and we would absolutely love it. And, oh my goodness, when we're going on our walks around our little coastal town, we see these places. And we've never taken it that step further. And the moment we wrote it down on a piece of paper in front of us, we were able to start looking at those steps and those plans in that space, or in that way, to be able to achieve it. And you ask about purpose, and I think absolutely, if you don't have something that you are working towards or feel so strong or connected or passionate about, your decisions can get moved in different directions. And it's also okay if your purpose changes at times as well. And I think, you know, also becoming a parent, or being a mom to my little 4-year-old, I've learned so many lessons through her eyes and through how my husband and I are raising her as well. And I sometimes have to take a step back and look and go, what am I teaching her by the actions that I'm taking as well? And my husband and I, we're strong believers in not about like telling and saying. Yes, you must tell and you must say, but you must also show. So we live we try to live, and it's this journey that we're on, and I think it's a journey that's ever evolving. We try and live a life of gratitude, appreciation, simplicity. Don't have more than what you need. Don't consume more than what you need. You know, if you walk into our house, we live in a 2-bedroom apartment. I don't want to say we're minimalists because we have stuff, but we have stuff that brings us joy. If stuff doesn't bring us joy, we don't need it. And if something doesn't serve us anymore, so for example, if clothes don't fit my child anymore, we donate them. And it's beautiful because at the age of 4, she comes to us and she's like, Mom and Dad, these clothes don't fit me anymore. I don't play with this toy anymore. Can we give it to somebody that doesn't have it? And for a 4-year-old to be able to do it, or to be able to articulate that, I just think is so beautiful, because I think we live in a world where we consume so much more than we need to consume. And our footprint on this planet actually has an impact. So you speak about purpose. I think there's, for me, showing the way that, sort of showing and living the way that we actually want the world, well, not want the world, but the way that the world should be and appreciate things and not have too much. Be okay with what you've got. Don't be greedy in your life. And always leave somebody feeling better off than they were before you met them. Sorry. And I was going to say there's a difference also between being nice and being kind. So being nice to somebody, oh, hey, how are you? Oh, great, you look wonderful today. Or being kind in terms of, like if I can put it into a business concept, if somebody, or work-related concept with my role at Nielsen, if somebody produces a report that needs improvement, it's, the nice thing to be is, okay, this report is great. This is lovely. Thank you so much. That's really nice. I know you've had a bad day. That's cool. The kind thing is to show the direction and go, listen, this is actually what the outcome needs to be based on the objectives. Think about it this way, think about it that way. It's almost like if you want to take a spin on, positive criticism, if you can put it that way. So I mean, it's something that this question of purpose, it's something that I've asked she's from a very young age, like, why are we on this planet? What is the point of us being here? Society tells you must go to school, get an education, find a husband, have a child, buy a house, or whichever order it's meant to go in. Like, what is the actual purpose of us being here? And how are we making a difference and an impact? So, yes, purpose is something that I think about to answer your question.
Do you seek the answers?
Yes. I think we all seek the answers. And I think it's also about understanding that the answers can change. I read something really interesting the other day, and this was, I've heard it somewhere else, but this was actually from ChatGPT. So I listened to a podcast about AI agents and where the world's going, and I listen to podcasts mainly every morning when I'm on my walks or my runs in the morning.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, and I came home and I was just like, I got so sidetracked with my conversation with ChatGPT about where the world is going and how human beings can live in the world with AI. And ChatGPT was like, wow, Amy, that's a really interesting question. I mean, I can show you what ChatGPT wrote back to me. But there was one very important point in there, and it's about humans to be able to live, in this technological world that we're going forward in. And I think it's also about a journey of, self-discovery, is you've got to be able to learn things, unlearn things, and learn things again. So being able to go, cool, this is a great way of doing it now, but guess what? I can unlearn it and do it in a better way, or do it in a different way, and relearn that, and then relook at that process again. Because, I love systems and processes. Absolutely love systems and processes. I love efficiency. I love optimizing. I want things to be more streamlined, and I carry that into my home as well. So if you walk into my home, people can't believe how organized it is with the way that things operate and how we operate, because it's set up for us as a little family. So we've made it's, and this is a definite influence from my husband's side, but now I would not be able to live without it. Our home is an automated home. Our lights operate by voice activation. We get in and out from our front door with our watch. We have timers set in the morning when, just before our alarms go off, our lights turn on to the setting of the sun, rising, so we're not blasted by bright lights in our eyes. Our alarm goes off, the blinds go up in the living room, the lights dim, so we walk through and we can make our coffee, so that everything like sits in this beautiful kind of symmetry, and it allows your mind to not worry about those things as well. So your mind can focus on different things. We also have a very neutral toned wardrobe. And people sometimes, like when we took this drastic change, which people thought was drastic, it was like, you actually don't have to occupy your mind. If you wake up in the morning and you see that you've got black, white, and grey in your cupboard, everything matches with everything. Your mind's allowed to go into spaces that allow you to be innovative, creative, think about different things, you know.
I've heard really successful people speak about specifically this point. Remove the tasks that require, basically remove the redundant tasks.
Yes.
And remove the things that perhaps don't add any sort of cognitive value.
Yes.
And things that perhaps will limit your cognitive bandwidth that you have throughout the day for perhaps creativity and things that will make you move forward and will help you to learn and grow. You know, on the personal side, it sounds that your parenting style is also very much based in a self-awareness. Because you mentioned to me earlier, you're very conscious about not just telling your child to do X, Y, and Z, but being the example and them seeing it. And we know the research around, 0 to 7, how our brains are such sponges, and that really affects kind of who we become, what we're exposed to. It affects our personality. Where did the self-awareness develop from?
I think I would say I've always been a person that has been able to see situations holistically. And I mean, I don't know if it was on one of your podcasts or a podcast that I listened to of someone else's, your strengths can either be, a curse or a strength, basically. And I think growing up, I used to describe myself as a chameleon. I'd be able to blend into every environment that I could possibly, like every environment that I was placed in, I was able to blend into and be confident and comfortable in that environment. And I think that stems from growing up in a family, in a divorced family. So my parents got divorced when I was sort of 5, going into the age of 6, and moving from different houses as well. Well, I mean, between 2 homes, and just having, I think my mom was actually born in the UK, so she's British. My father was born in South Africa, but he's Italian. So kind of this multicultural type of setup and environment as well. And I think just being also exposed to different ways of living. I was very fortunate that at a young age I was able to also travel a lot. My grandmother was amazing in that sense. I did the UK a few times, America a few times, and being able to be exposed to different cultures at a young age as well, I think also kind of helped and aided in that. So yeah, it's been it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, because you can kind of mold yourself into a place, but you may not necessarily be being true to who you are as a person as well, and like your core values and your core beliefs. And I would say when I was about 27, 28 years of age, I took a deep look at myself and sort of said, like, am I, like, again, what is purpose? What's meaning? What's purpose?
And at this point in your life, what was going on for you to ask these questions?
Yeah, so very, very interesting question. And I also, I ran Comrades Marathon. I did back-to-backs in 2014 and 2015. And the reason of also running events like that, or getting into something that is so, mental toughness kind of realm and space. When I was 18 years of age, just to give a bit of a backstory, when I was 18 years of age, matric vacation, I was mugged and my handbag was stolen from me in that situation. My ID document was taken. Okay, I found out it was about 5 or 6 years later. I got a phone call, but long story short, I was a victim of impersonation. And somebody was living as me under my name and had put me in over R1 million worth of debt, according to what was under my name and what was under my ID. And I had to go through an incredibly long process of getting my name cleared and finding justice in that process. And I think I got to a point where I was very angry with the world, angry as to how can this take place, how can this happen. I was at a point where I was thinking, it is the most selfish act in the world to have a child, to bring a child into a world that's, full of all this, like, bad stuff that can happen and go on to you. And I think I started going, this feeling inside me of anger is not me. There's got to be more to this world than what's like meeting our eyes, basically. And I really sort of looked and dug deep into this journey of self-discovery. I went to go see a therapist because I didn't have the tools to handle what I was feeling and what I was going through. And that was the most incredible, transformative kind of period as well. If I can remember correctly, my mum, over a similar period, had moved to Australia. So that was also something that that I think, you obviously also have to look at and deal with. And I mean, I was incredibly happy for her to move over, and it was absolutely the right decision for her, and all of that. But when you've got all of these things going on, and also at times feeling so scared and so alone when going through the victim of impersonation as well, and also like being fearful of your family's life as well. So when you're arriving at court, people kind of, if you're arriving with family members, like what's going to happen to them type of thing, because it ended up being part of a complete syndicate. Yeah, it was quite something. It was part of a complete syndicate. So I think having an experience like that and going through something like that, if it doesn't shift you or make you look inward, I'm not quite sure what direction it would make you take. And I really had to dig deep within myself and focus on who I am and actually love myself and not feel as though, yes, I can be a chameleon in all these spaces, but when I'm in these spaces, I'm authentically myself, and to find that calmness. And if you don't like that, then that's on you type of thing, So
is there a core wound of abandonment? And the context of my question is, hearing stories of people who came from broken homes, i.e., parents were divorced or separated, or, perhaps infidelity. There's something in us that a core wound will develop, where that later on plays out in either professional or personal relationships. And then, of course, your mom leaving. And that core wound could, manifest in different ways, which could perhaps stop you from truly trusting in relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
Or in business sense, you're always fearful or skeptical about people's intentions because of that core wound of abandonment.
100%. And I think, also to add to your answer, of that, I can say I had incredible trust issues. I also was engaged to somebody who I found out wasn't who he actually said he was. So that relationship obviously broke down. Then the victim of impersonation happened. So it's like these knocks that are taking place in your life. I think from feeling abandoned as a child, being in a divorced home, I want to say no to that, because I remember, my mom sat my sister and I down and said she thought it was going to be the hardest conversation of her life to tell her children that mom and dad are getting a divorce. My sister, obviously, is her own person and took it differently to me. I looked at my mom at the age of 6 and I said, Mom, it's about time. You and dad fight all the time. So I think even at that age, I had this awareness around me, awareness of situations. And I also think, like, children are a lot smarter than we think they are. And I think also with the evolution, and I see it with my 3, the intellect that they have and how they think about things and how they ask questions as well. Never underestimate that at all. Never underestimate that at all. And, what I've come to learn over the last, I'd say, couple of years is people are who people are. Don't try and change them. You don't know what their reasons are for doing what they're doing. And they are potentially only giving you all that they can possibly give you. So accept that as love and kindness. It doesn't mean that it's got to be okay for you, but it's about the understanding element of it.
I think that there's 2 ways that you could have gone down in life. And the one is what you just described, which, you went through this traumatic experiences. You seek the support, you got the support, you developed the tools to understand what was going on, and you didn't identify with that thing. And hence you could, just what you described to me, that is your outlook on life, accept people. But the other side could have been very much victim mentality.
Absolutely.
And you stay stuck in that loop.
Yeah.
And then your life could have turned out very differently.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I feel like this is a challenge. And so really my intention with, talking about this is we do have a choice. We can choose option 1, or we can stay stuck. And it's unfortunate because most people, there's not enough support around that person to be like, hey, go and seek help.
Yeah.
And it's not even about a cost thing, because I came across a platform called Himetas. I'm probably getting the name wrong. It's a free counseling platform. So there's access.
There is absolutely access.
But that willingness.
Yeah. And that's also something that that I have learned and had to accept, that people will be receptive only if they are ready and willing to be receptive of things.
If you're not ready to learn the lesson,
yeah,
it's gonna come back twice as loud the second time.
Yes.
And 3 times as loud the third time.
Yes.
until you get knocked over.
Yeah. And I think people need to listen to how they feel in situations, how their body reacts in situations, how, just have self-awareness to be able to understand. Because, to me, like, awareness is the first step. And once you're aware, then you're able to work on whatever it is that needs to be worked on, And yeah, I mean, this journey of self-discovery, it's never ending. So
something that I also think about is when you're in it, it feels very overwhelming. And it could be anything, right? For me, it would be like, business, and financially, I'm like, oh, Philip, this is not working. So I need a pivot, and I need to try this, and I need to try this.
Yeah.
And I'm trying so many things, and it's overwhelming because I'm not getting the result that I want. But when you're in it, it feels like there's so much pressure.
I mean, I look back on the first, when I started Sartori, I look back on it, and I look back on how I felt, and some of, the fears that I had within me of starting my own business, and this isn't working. Oh my gosh, I should have done more research about this before jumping into it. And I look back on it, and things always seem to find a way of working out, because you find the way to make things work out. And I think if you can find an element of peace and calmness in the chaos, and just hold on to some form of belief that this is the journey that you're meant to be on. You are exactly where you are meant to be at this exact moment in time. There can hopefully be a sense of calmness in it. And I think one of the things that I strive for, and I definitely have not mastered it at all, also coming from Italian heritage, you can ask my husband, I've got a bit of Italian flair in me, absolutely, is to be calm in all situations. So calm whether news is brought to you that is negative, or whether news is brought to you that is positive. So it's not about going and being elated by something or being completely dropped by something else, but trying to keep a level-headed, rational mind throughout all of it, and showing appreciation and gratitude when things are good, and showing understanding when things are bad, but to be able to keep a constant like state of mind, so that you can see clearly within all circumstances, and be able to sort of also take a look back, and be able to look at things, like I said earlier, from a holistic point of view, and put those pieces of the puzzle together. There's an incredibly interesting book. So again, with my whole journey of self-discovery, and also it was around sort of 27, 28 years of age, I battled I thought I battled massively with my weight. Whether anybody else saw it from the outside might not have been, thinking it at all. But it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter if I ran 10 Ks and ate a lettuce leaf, I'd put on weight. If I ran 10 Ks and ate a piece of cake, I'd put on weight, type of thing. So it didn't matter what was going on. So I went to go and see a dietitian, and she put me on whatever she needed to put me on, and did a bunch of blood tests afterwards, and nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed. And she said to me, Amy, I think you've got a hormonal imbalance. You need to go and see an endocrinologist. And she put me in contact with this endocrinologist. And that first consult with this endocrinologist, it was another one of those pivotal moments that you can either take this information and change your life, or you can sit and be stuck. And he went through all my blood tests, and he said, yes, there's certain things here and certain things there, and I can put you on medication, but the goal is to not be on meds to help this hormone imbalance. The goal is to be off meds, and the only way that that's going to take place is if you fix what's going on up here. And he recommended a book to me called Governing Business and Relationships. I'll send you a picture of it because I can never pronounce the author's name. And it's the most incredible book, and it changed my mindset and gave me such a shift of clarity, and also allowed me to like love myself as well. And after that, and after like studying the book and making notes, I actually couldn't get a physical copy, so I had to have it on my Kindle. That's when like my husband walked into my life, because I was now open and receptive, because I loved myself, that I was able to welcome somebody else in. And yeah, it's the most incredible book, but it speaks about the human is the body, the mind, and the intellect. And we are not taught and told about training the intellect. So the body is your physical being, and the mind is your emotions and how you respond and act to things. And your intellect goes well beyond that, and that comes and sits in with, the logic, the reason, the calmness, the contentment, the not having these emotional kind of waves when ebbs and flows and things like that happen to you.
There's so many things that once you mentioned there, and I think the first that I wanted to unpack was this idea of, in those tough times, you mentioned that there's some sort of belief, or how I like to define it is there's hope that things will one day change. And so you continue to persevere with that hope in mind. Is that what gets you through the tough times? That hope?
Hope, and I think what's starting to develop is belief as well.
Self-belief?
Self-belief, and also having a person in my life that loves me unconditionally and supports me like my husband. I also think, when I started off on Sartori, it was me. Yes, I've got friends and family around me, but it was me who had to make it work financially for myself and all of that. I now have someone in my life that, supports me unconditionally and is there to encourage me and catch me when I fall as well. And I think having that also as a safety net is also what helps and gets you through it. So he can be there for those moments, but then it is finding clarity in my mind of the hope, the excitement, the enjoyment. Instead of going, what if this doesn't work? My mindset is, what if this does work? What will it look like when it does work? And that's what I have tried to do and constantly say to myself. And that then puts you into a different state and a different frame of mind. Because I think a lot of our barriers are all in our head as well. We're taught to question these things. We're taught to be scared. We're taught to do all of this. But what happens if it does work? Then what does it look like?
That's so powerful because, like you said, we tend to, negative bias. We tend to focus on what's not going right. I achieved 90%, but shit, why didn't I get the 10%?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's that part happening.
Yeah.
So just as how we meant to hold the failure or what's perceived as failure, we also meant to hold what happens if it becomes a success. And I think this is such an important point of what you mentioned. The second thing is having that person in your corner.
Yeah.
I feel that's so invaluable. I don't think that I'll be where I am in terms of like my business in the amount of time that I've got here if it wasn't for my partner. Because on those days where you've given your all and you've tried so many things and you're just dealing with rejection, there's only so much that a human spirit can take.
Yeah.
So having someone in your corner that basically just says that it's okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new day.
Exactly.
That's all you need.
Exactly. It's all you need. And my husband and I, we dedicate one night a week. So Wednesday night is date night for us. And it's the most, like, you know, sometimes we get to Wednesday and we're tired and we're exhausted and, you know, we'd rather just, you know, put the TV on and watch something, or that would be the easier option to do. And date night is not going out. It's staying in. Our little girl's gone to bed and we talk and we chat about things that are on our mind, and we, you know, just spend time with each other and stop and pause. And it's something that I actually most look forward to in my weeks, because it resets me if I need to be reset, and it reconnects us if life is busy and life is crazy. Because, you know, as much as, you know, I've also mentioned to you about, you know, processes and having things streamlined in your house and how things work, a 4-year-old can derail any form of automation that takes place wherever. You know, if she's woken up in a bad mood, well, boy, Siri's not exactly going to be able to solve that problem. So it's carving out and having those moments, and also making sure that you have those moments as the two of you, because yes, your children are an extension of you and very important, but if you are not the two of you, there is nothing else, basically.
Is there such a thing as balance? And the context of this is, you know, we're striving towards success. And success for me is just being able to do what I want when I want. Mm-hmm. To build big things, to impact people, to make lots of money doing it. There's a financial freedom aspect to it, but then there's the fulfilling aspect to it. So wanting to do big things and having this ambition comes at a cost. The cost being perhaps spending less time with loved ones, less time on social interactions. At least for me, that's the cost. But I still ensure that, you know, kind of like there's these first principles in place. Health, relationship, making time for perhaps not date night, but pockets during the week. Because you're working 14 hours a day. So there's something has to give. Do you struggle with finding the harmony?
I have ups and downs with that, and then I've always got to sort of come back to myself. And it happened to me this week, where you know, fetching my child from school and coming home, and she's saying to me, "Mommy, will you play with me?" Yes, I'll play with you, but I'm playing with her and my phone's next to me. So I'm looking at my phone, I'm checking an email, I'm responding to a message, and I had to stop and pause and go, when you have got dedicated time to do work, you work and you focus and you concentrate, and the sacrifices there are not necessarily going for lunch with a friend or, you know, sort of, you know, yeah, just doing something else other than being dedicated or focused. Like sometimes, because my husband also works from home, he'll come through and he'll be like, "I'm going to go for a walk now, just to stretch my legs." And it's like this pain of, will I go for a walk with you to stretch my legs, or am I going to sit here because I know that I've only got this time to do it? So you lose those sacrifices in those, well, you lose that balance in that moment. But when you are with that person, it's about being dedicated and giving them your full concentration, your full, you know, focus. So I've made a complete shift this week with my daughter, and I would fetch her from school and she'd be coloring and doesn't want to come home, and I'm like, oh, got a meeting, got to go and do something. Whereas it's sort of structured and planning now, where I'm fetching her a little bit later, but when I fetch her, there's no time for work after that until she has had her time and her attention and her needs basically met. And it's also freeing and calming, as well, because it's like, okay, cool, like the world's not going to end. Like it's not going to make a difference if I don't look at something in 2 hours' time. I'm not a brain surgeon here. No one's life is dependent on this right now. But this little girl needs her mom and her dedication. So I'll sit with her and I'll draw with her at school, and we'll come home and we'll play. And then she's also had her like fix and feed of it. And, you know, it's time to go to bed now. Don't call mommy. Mommy's doing some work. And then that's back to that dedication. So for me, it's about being present in the moments when you are present in those moments. You know, sitting here talking to you, I can't have my mind thinking and worrying about all sorts of other things, which is why I turn my phone on complete silence, so nothing's coming through to the watch. There's no notifications, there's no thoughts. Blocked out this time completely so that I can be dedicated with you. You know, when I get home later this afternoon or this evening, the focus needs to be on my child, not on work. Work can be the focus first thing tomorrow morning, or if I wake up early and start on something, or tonight, or whatever the case is. So it's being present in those moments so that you can fully give in those moments. And if you're not present and fully giving in those moments, then honestly, what's the point? And you are not reaping the rewards from that, you know?
100%, you're doing a disservice not only to yourself, but to that person or that task. You know, I'm alluding to this thing about having it all. And I think that's a comparison thing and an image that was created, and it's very delusional. I think that let's talk about how delusional that image is.
I mean, you know, it depends what having it all means. What having it all means to you is also something that you've got to look at. But if you are someone that, you know, wants to have a family, you know, have children, have a business, be able to do what you want when you want, create what you want when you want, go on wonderful holidays, have wonderful experiences, it is completely, in my opinion, it's completely delusional. And I think it's also, again, it's about carving out those elements and those times. So if you are going away, be away and try and separate and remove yourself from focusing on stuff that you think needs to be done. Because also in those moments, you'll actually find a lot of clarity. You'll come up with a lot of ideas that you wouldn't necessarily have come up with if you were just going 24/7. So I think this whole element of having it all is not about having it all at the same time. It's about having it at different periods and different pockets.
Yeah, different seasons for different things. And in your career, in your early career, you know, you moved from, you know, job to job, company to company, you know, not staying, I think I read, not longer than 2 years per kind of role. Was that very much intentional to grow and to, how were you thinking about your professional career back then?
So it was more a per role and not a per company. So I stayed in companies, but achieved promotions within those companies. And even if you look at my role within Nielsen, I started off on a sales side, moved into, sales commercial side, moved into head of being in commercial side, and then really finding a pull to the operational side of the business, moving into commercial and operations, and then moving completely into operations. So I think I've had 4 or 5 role changes in my 5.5 years at Nielsen. And I think that's also something within me that I want to keep learning, keep growing, keep achieving, keep evolving as well. You know, I don't want to be bored in a space. I want to be challenged. So if I feel like I have and I don't want to, I mean, mastered might be a bit of an arrogant word, but if I feel like I've mastered one side and I feel like I can add value somewhere else that's going to be a challenge, take that challenge. Because you'll learn, you'll grow, you'll make mistakes, which means you'll grow, type of thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's been the case with a few of the companies. A few of the companies that I've worked at, I've stayed with them, but moved up in them, and then moved to another company. Moved up in them, and then moved into another company.
I think the way I think about what you're saying is not stagnating in one's career.
Yes.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Especially if you have ambition to grow and to, kind of climb up the ladder. And it's also about building skills. I mean, it seems that you were exceptional at what you did to be able to get bumped up in terms of promotion. But was a core component of that also upskilling?
It's a funny thing, and also this conversation I was having with ChatGPT the other day was, us as human beings, we need to be generalists as well moving forward. We need to be able to be generalists, and I also feel that in the journey, the career journey that I've taken, it's in the career journey that I've taken, it's upskilling, but it's also learning more. And again, another one, whether it's a curse or a strength, I'm the type of person that's always been able to, if I get put into this role or this environment, I will upskill myself, I will get into the mindset of it, and I will achieve it. It doesn't necessarily mean that I love it, but I'll be good at it. So it's looking at it and going, cool, I can adapt, I can be agile in these things, and I will make sure that if I'm in this role, I'll be successful in this role because I'm going to put everything into being successful in this role. Doesn't mean that I love it.
How are you able to separate the two? And
separate the two in terms of love and in terms of...
Yeah. I was sharing earlier of how I was a consultant. And in 2022, I was running the travel business and working for two companies. And the one was 40 hours, the one was 25 hours, and then my business was another maybe 30 hours. Now, if you look at a working week, it's only 45 hours.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily the time I was putting in, but it was more what I was doing and how enjoyable it was. I didn't feel like I was growing, so maybe that is factor number one. And factor number two, I felt like my foundations weren't in place, i.e. health and relationship. And so I'm just working, I'm making money, and I'm getting the job done, and I'm good at it, but there's no passion, and the end result was burnout, where I couldn't get out of bed, completely just melancholic, because there was nothing driving me.
Yeah.
No excitement.
Yeah. And I think also for me, the industry that I've been in, so the sports industry that I've been in, I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be involved in sports in some form or another. So I studied a BCom in sports management. When I first started studying that was to become a biokineticist, but I wanted to have a BCom. So I think for me, being in the industry that I'm in the sporting industry, there's always been a sense of passion no matter what I was doing. So, I've done work that's been, completely mundane, but might look exciting on the outside to other people, but completely mundane, but it was in the sporting environment. So it was like for Confed Cup, the year before World Cup, looking at and managing spreadsheets of, this was for the agency that I was working at, had the MTN account for the FIFA World Cup and Confed Cup, and it was looking at all the countries that MTN operate in and managing the logistics of the vehicles that were going to take all these MTN executives around to all the stadiums. Not exciting for me at all to be able to like plan the logistics of vehicles, but exciting doing it for a sporting event and being able to be at these events and on fields where, you know, like superstars are on. And I mean, I remember it was one of the World Cup fixtures, being on the field with just the team at the agency that I was at, working there. There was no one else in the stadium. It was quiet. The game had finished. It had taken place, and we kicked a FIFA World Cup soccer ball around on the field at like midnight.
Wow.
You know, so it's those sorts of incredible moments, I think, as well, that have also kept me going in that passion. And growing up at school, I mean, if I used to finish an exam early, I used to sketch pictures of the South African Protea cricket players because I was just like obsessed with cricket. I think one of my saddest moments was when SA Cricket magazine was actually pulled and didn't exist anymore. Like, it was one of my saddest moments. And I remember one of my first things that I did was MTN, it was also for MTN, but for the agency, sponsored Proteas, and it was at the Wanderers Stadium. And the team that I worked with understood like my passion, and they were like, "Do you want to carry the trophy onto the field?" And I think it's moments like that that have, you know, it sort of kept me going and inspired me throughout the moments of the work that's not potentially, you know, interesting and mundane, if I can put it that way.
I think, you know, what I'm getting from that is there's always going to be things, even in the passionate business
Absolutely.
or, you know, passionate craft.
Yeah.
There's going to be things that you don't enjoy. If you are creative, there's going to be adamant things that you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
But there's still the medium in which you are a part of, or you know, taking action towards. That still has to be very much in alignment with deep down your passions and who you are. Whereas I think, in my case, like there was nothing about that industry that I wanted to be a part of. The only thing that was actually got me out of bed was like the paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, like never a good place to be.
Never a good place to be, but sometimes a necessary place to be as well.
Of course.
So, you know, that's still serving a purpose, because it's, you know, obviously paying your bills, and it can hopefully enable you to do something. And the skills that you learned, I think you learn skills wherever you go, in whichever environment that you're in, whether you're enjoying that job or not, you're still learning.
It's never a waste of time.
Never, ever, ever a waste of time.
Yeah. And even looking back, you are right. There was a term, the shoveling poo.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, it pays bills, and you're learning about grit.
Absolutely.
And hard work.
But it's also a mentality shift of, yes, I'm in this job and I can't leave the job because of the paycheck. Be grateful for the paycheck that you're receiving, for what it's enabling you to do as well. Because if you're looking at it in the way of, I can't leave because I need this paycheck, you're already creating a negative type of feeling within yourself about all of this. Whereas if you look at it and you go, yes, I'm doing this and I've received this paycheck and I'm grateful for what this paycheck enables me to do, you can start creating a bit more of a positive manifest and a positive mindset around it. And hopefully your mind's then not consumed by what's negative, but rather what's by positive. And that then will open up your mind to be able to think about that next step that you spoke about. What are you doing? What are the steps that you're doing to then perhaps potentially move away from this? So is it another job that you're looking to find? Or is it something that you want to go off and do on your own? You've got to be responsible and take calculated risks in that space. But if you're focusing on what's negative and what that job is not allowing you to do, you're not going to get out of the mindset of focusing on what you can do going forward, if that makes sense.
100%. I think it's also limiting beliefs and getting over limiting beliefs of what's possible. Because yes, that paycheck is attached to, supporting your family, paying your bills.
Exactly.
And you think that I can't leave the job because of that. But in actual fact, you can leave the job because the why is to support your family. So how can I achieve that somewhere else?
Completely.
And I think that's like the limiting beliefs that there's so many limiting beliefs.
I mean, I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts about money and finance and investing. And I think if I could go back in time, I would love to be able to have gained more knowledge then and not, like I say, sort of really try to start and understand these things. And one of the books that I listened to is a book called The Psychology of Money. And I mean, it's incredible. And it's one of those ones that you actually want to keep on going back and listening to. But if you look at what your relationship has also been with money, you've got to understand that in order to be able to move to a place where you want it to be. So money for me, if I think like listening to the book and they ask you questions, if you go straight into it, money for me when I was growing up was an element of some form of it was an element of control. Like I was controlled by, by I pay for this, and if you don't do this, type of thing. So for me, there was a control element. And then you hear all these things like, money doesn't make you happier. Money doesn't grow on trees. One of the things as well, I always get his surname wrong, but Ramit, I can't remember.
Yes.
I get his surname wrong all the time. So I'm also listening to one of his audiobooks about money for couples. And it's obviously, I mean, his whole thing is about living your rich life. And I remember growing up, like my mom, whenever we went to a restaurant, we could never order mineral water because it's too expensive and it's a waste of money. So a silly thing, living my rich life, is being able to order mineral water at a restaurant. Like, that's, you know what I mean? And having an understanding, like what your relationship is with money, and then looking at and actually going, like money is also associated with power and negative things, but going and saying, I love money. I want more money in my life. And you know what? I'm really grateful that I've received this paycheck. And yes, I've got to go and pay for my cell phone bill. But you know what? I'm really grateful that I'm able to pay for the cell phone bill because this phone gives me connectivity to my family, my friends. It helps me with my business. It's about looking at it and different mind shifts in what your relationship is with that.
Lack and abundance. I think that this is a really important topic. What else did you wish you knew about money in your 20s?
I think from an investment point of view, into global currencies, the value of compounding interest, and I think where it went wrong for me, and it's maybe because, again, I wasn't receptive to it when I was being told about it. Financial advisors and financial brokers always seem to just scare you. It's like, oh, you earn X, but you should be putting this much away. And it's like, dude, if I put that much away, how am I going to eat? How am I going to pay rent? It's unrealistic, basically. But if you're taught in simple bite-sized terms that you can understand, I think it would be a lot further along, if I can put it that way. And it's something that my husband and I chat about with regards to the kids is what are we doing? Because I think as parents, if I can look back and go, my parents did everything that they could do for me. I now want to build on what they did for me and what they taught me and make sure that my children are, further along the curve. And hopefully when they have children, they're building off different bases. And it's how do you instill a mindset within their minds of having a positive relationship with money and understanding stuff that my husband and I don't necessarily understand. So, it's about also learning together in that way.
How do you cultivate an openness in relationship when it comes to money, specifically romantic? Because I've worked with people who have told me that they don't know how much their spouse earns and their spouse doesn't know how much they earn. And they just understand, okay, cool, this is how much we have to spend on bills. And so that's how much I'm going to spend.
Yeah. I mean, that's to me, I think different, again, your different backgrounds, different upbringings, different circumstances, I suppose, will also define how you handle money within relationships. And I think, for my husband and I, he knows exactly what I earn. I know exactly what he earns. And our money is our joint money, If he earns, X and I earn Y, it doesn't mean that he's only going to contribute X and I'm only going to contribute Y. Our money goes together. And also the value of money being put together can grow a lot quicker than being separate as well. So, that question for me is not relevant in my life and my relationship with my husband, because it's something that we speak about constantly. We speak about it all the time. We speak about our financial goals. If there's increases in school fees or this is or that's, we both know about it. I'm the one that has the spreadsheet and tracks everything. I'm that person in our relationship, but it's very much a collective. We're building a future together as a unit, as a family. So, I've never been in a relationship before where money has been merged, if that makes sense. I think when you are living with someone and you've dedicated your life to someone and you're married to someone, it's a very different situation than when you're just dating. So yeah, it hasn't. That for us is not really. I think we can do a lot of things better, but that's also our journey and growing together and learning together. But we're very open and receptive to financial conversations.
I think it's also removing the taboo around it. Because like you said, we all grow up differently.
Yeah.
And what we're exposed to growing up is very different. There's lots of limiting beliefs that are imposed on us. And we have to have the awareness around breaking those beliefs. But I've also made it a point to, my partner and myself are also very open about, we have to be we live together. I don't see how it doesn't make sense if you're not discussing the thing that's helping you live together, or that's aiding you in your life. And so I also made it a point to talk to my friends about it and ask them about decisions that they made. But definitely what I learned in this season, it's focus on the earning as well, on the income part. Upskill yourself, but focus on the income and ensure that there's multiple streams of income. Amy, this has been amazing.
It's been fun. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you. The last part of the podcast is called the Fast Fire. So I'm going to ask you these quick questions, and if you could answer in a word or a short sentence, that would be amazing.
Okay.
So this one is different. It's a quote. The people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do.
Steve Jobs.
Why does this resonate with you?
Okay, to answer it very, very quickly, Apple and what they have done to change the world is incredible. They're not just a device. They're not just a product here. They've opened up people's minds, businesses. You know, you're filming, you know, on a phone, and
You use it every day.
you use it every day. And, you know, it resonates so much with me because I think it's that element of hope and belief.
What's one rule you would make that everyone has to follow? No questions asked.
This is going to sound probably, I don't know, so airy-fairy, but there's a wonderful quote by Mother Teresa that says, go home and love your family. And I think if everybody just showed love and the correct morals and standards for their family, this world would be a very different place.
What's one truth you would continue to live by, regardless of what's happening on the outside?
Belief in what you feel inside of you.
Back yourself, listen to your intuition. 3 pieces of wisdom. So if you're standing on a stage, there's 60 million people in front of you. What's 3 things that you'll leave that audience with?
You know, whether I'm qualified to answer that question at the age that I am at, I would say the 3 things: accept people for who they are. Don't try and change them. Try and understand where they are coming from. The second thing would be live your life for you, not for anybody else, on anybody else's expectations. And the third thing would be is to gain as much knowledge as you possibly can on topics that are interesting to you so that your mind can grow and expand.
Yeah, those are wise words. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you for sharing your story so candidly, openly, vulnerably. Your journey has been incredible. The way that you are able to look internally and then go outward and solve problems, not just for yourself, but for your family, for others in corporate. So thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for the things that you're doing in this world and the impact that you are making.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me your time today.
Thank you very, very much. And thank you for making me also stop and pause and reflect. It's important. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.